Hey, Mortgage Coach community, Dave Savage here, and I am super pumped because I am talking to someone from Montana. What's up, Shannon O'Hare?
Hey Dave, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. It's not every day I get to feature, awesome mortgage professionals from Montana and Wyoming, which are two places that I love to go.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting here in Big Sky Country. We're loving life. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for being here. Well, I'm pumped that you are bringing mortgage coach value to your market, to your realtors, to your families. First of all, why don't you just start by just telling everybody a little bit about your mortgage practice, and then we'll get into some big ideas.
Sure. So I've been a mortgage lender in the Bozeman, Montana area since 2002. I love what I do. It's my passion, and I'm just excited to be here today.
Cool. How many loans are you doing per year? Where do you get your business? Just a little bit about your practice.
Yep. So I'm averaging about 150 units a year. And a lot of my business comes from realtor referrals, but also from CPAs, financial advisors, and divorce attorneys, as well as past clients. So kind of a wide array.
So, but I mean, at the end of the day, my takeaway just from the conversations we've had, you're a local referral-based professional, even though you work for a bank. Most of your business is self-sourced. You're building strategic partnerships in a local way. And what percentage purchase versus refi? Just curious.
I would say probably 75% purchase right now.
Right on. And then you and I met at Sales Mastery, if my memory serves.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So it's good to see you at Sales Mastery. I don't know. I think you guys had a few of your loan officers join you at that event.
Yeah, I was with another team, but yeah, it was a great event, and I will definitely be back next year. So
good.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing you again. And then let's talk about why you're using Mortgage Coach, because I know you've been using it for a while, but it sounds like you've really elevated how you're using it and how often you use it. Why don't you just share a little bit about your Mortgage Coach? Why are you on the team?
Yeah, so it really did start with just doing the individual TCAs, the total cost analysis for the client, and just seeing the result in people's reaction versus the dreaded fee sheet that we talk about, and just the clarity that it creates. And so, up front, you're nervous to do something wrong, or you think it's going to take too much time. And then with each one, it just becomes such a smooth process, and you gain so much confidence by the feedback that the client gets you. And it becomes really kind of exciting to send that out and be sharing a professional looking display that really gives people all of their options in a clear, concise way. And so that's really how I got started with it. And then, I've worked with the Mortgage Coach team to support me and give me new ideas. And so, yeah, it kind of just morphed into part of the process where we are consistently doing them on every loan.
So, and I love that because, when you and I first started talking, you were like, okay, I'm using it when I feel like I have to, but it sounds like it's really gone to a team requirement where every family, whether they barely qualify or whether they're, super nerdy about mortgages and they're shopping you hard, you're delivering the same experience to everyone, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. So why don't we kind of shift to some ideas and strategies, before I pull up the screen and we walk through a total cost analysis, share some ways that you're using it. Just think from a sales strategy perspective. What's a sales strategy? What's a story? And then we'll pull up a report and get into it.
Yeah. So I've been meaning to do annual reviews. Every year we talk about them. Every year we talk about the importance of retaining past clients. We sell our servicing, and so we're losing some ground there. And so right now it's huge that we get on the annual review. And so the Mortgage Coach calls that I listen to talk about how critical that is. So I just decided this is the year I'm doing it. And so I started making my calls, and I recently had a client that closed on a purchase not contingent upon the sale of their home. And so their last name starts with A. So they were one of the first people I call as I start my annual review process. So I give this guy a call, and I'm like, hey, I'm just checking in. How's your home? And go off on a tangent about basketball and skiing, whatever. We circle back around, and I said, has your other home sold yet? And he was like, no. And it's causing us some stress and on and on. And I was like, well, why do you think it's not selling? And he's like, well, we're in a little bit higher price point, and with rates coming up, and I just think it's going to take a special buyer that isn't as rate sensitive. And so I was like, well, we could talk about, talking to the agent about a price reduction, but what do you think about this concept called a seller buy down? And I said, it's nothing new, but it's something that we haven't really talked about in the lending community in a long time, just because rates have been so low. He's like, what are you talking about? And so I just had this conversation this week. And so it's cool that I get to share this. So my goal with this seller buy down is really to ask that client, how much are they willing to walk away from on a potential price reduction, throw that toward points for a potential buyer. And if the seller, my past client, is cool with it, we'll present that to the realtor and have them market it that way. And so he was like, wow, you don't need to be doing any of this, do you? And I was like, well, no, I want to help your family. And so with their permission, we'll go through this one, but we can add the realtor's information and a picture of the house and everything else to help market it. But I just thought it was a good way to add some value. And I feel like by doing this, when they go to buy their next home, they're going to think of me. So.
Well, a lot of things came to my mind as you were telling that story. First of all, it sounds like you are tuned in to our YouTube channel. You're active in our Facebook group.
Yep.
And you're like hearing ideas from top producers and then you're implementing. So great job on making 2019 the year that you're going to get after annual reviews. By the way, how many past customers do you have?
So what I did is, to make myself accountable, I sent out 700, and this is just since 10. I was at a former employer before that. So since 2010, I sent out 740 postcards that said, thank you for your business. I'm thankful for you. I'm going to be reaching out to you in the coming weeks. So now I made a promise that I have to hold to. So 740 phone calls in the next couple months.
Wow, you're gonna be killing it. So by the way, let's make sure we do another interview in a month. And like, I know we're gonna have new ideas, new strategies. But by the way, challenge out there to everybody watch this. Make 2019 the year that you get after annual reviews. And here's a great example where you were calling not with, oh, I'm gonna call and sell the seller buy down. You were calling, how's it going? And then it came up as an idea. And then the other idea I had for this is, wow, think about this. Anybody who's had their home on the market, yes, the agent, is a great way to deliver value to them. But what about calling FSBOs? What about calling sellers and say, hey, seller, your home's been on the market. I've got an idea for you, or I have some ideas. So you just gave me that idea. So by the way, if you're listening to this and you were calling sellers directly and having, whether it's a seller buy down conversation or whether it's just hey, I want to be a strategic resource conversation with them, let us know. If you're watching this on Facebook, put it in comments. But I think this is just a great standalone strategy, Shannon. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I think it's great. And it's just creating opportunity and options. And maybe this won't help sell their home. Can you hear me still, Dave?
Yeah. And I just threw up your screen. So it probably changed. Yeah, no. It changed for you a little bit on your side, right?
Yeah, no, we're good. Maybe this won't help sell their home, but it might. And I think for that listing agent, if they know I'm still communicating with this buyer after the closing, and on this one, it was a different buyer's agent than the listing agent on their current home. And so I've got an opportunity to go to this listing agent who I've worked with in the past. We have a good working relationship, but I just think this could totally help solidify my relationship with her.
Yeah, but I think hopefully the big takeaway for everybody is, if you're local, referral based, this is how you need to roll. Like, hopefully you can talk to 10 people in annual reviews and get, a predictable number of loans and referrals, 2, 3. But I don't care if you only get one or none. If you want to kill it in 2019 and beyond, you're going to build these lifelong relationships with people, and delivering an annual review is part of the service you need to do. So I have pulled it up on the screen. I want everybody to notice, it's got your brand, company brand, your personal brand, real estate loan officer, the photo in which you are personally branding yourself. And again, just remember, to everyone, in the upper left-hand corner, you can translate it into Spanish. You can click share button and share it. So Shannon, why don't you walk us through this strategy? And I noticed you highlighted some things. Why don't you walk us through it as though you're teaching us how to teach this strategy to others? Yeah.
So the first column is the current listing, where it's at right now, and then that second column is what this client was saying. Hey, my wife and I would be willing to part with 30 grand. We had to do a price reduction, 30 grand. And so I pulled up the rates and I was like, okay, well, how much would the rate improve if they gave that buyer a $30,000 credit toward points? And so then that shows the total savings per month, which it's a big deal. You know, and I think for every client, that number is different and the power of that number is different, but it's pretty substantial. And I think just conceptually, for a buyer to look at what that rate is, that could have potentially more impact than the actual savings. They may just think, wow, that's important. I want to be able to say that I got that rate when everyone else is getting X. And then in that fourth column, that really translates to, that can be important to a buyer or a seller. Wow, I would have to drop my price. I think it was $67,000 in order for that payment to equate to the same payment. And so that's a huge difference right there. And so depending on the price point, you know, there's going to be a little bit different impact, but for this particular situation, I think this is a great advantage.
Yeah. And by the way, you know, notice she is talking to the person who owns the home, giving them advice as a mortgage professional on how they could take, you know, the house isn't sold. Remember, this is not a house that they put on the market and they've got, you know, 5 listings. Or 5 offers. This is a house that's sitting on the market. They're stressed. They want to sell it. They have a reason they want to sell it. And now we're strategically giving them options. And I think it's important to note, it's not like you're selling a strategy. You're helping the family make an informed decision. And then you're also helping them, you know, part of making an informed decision, understanding that, wow, doing the rate reduction and then adding that to how my agent is promoting it in the market, maybe adding some language to the MLS that the seller is willing to buy down the rate to X, or willing to, do a 3-point, or whatever the point is, price concession. That could be the difference between, sitting on the house for 2 more months and selling it now and winning big. So big idea here. Anything else on this strategy? Because I know you sent me another TCA and I want to make sure we cover that one too.
I did. So just really quickly, you can see right there where it says CNC home seller. That's where you would ultimately add in the picture of the home or the listing agent's information and really brand this well. And the software within Mortgage Coach is just so user friendly and it's easy.
So by the way, did you hear that? Because I hear all the time from loan officers, oh, it's hard, it takes time. No, I mean, first of all, any change is hard. And the first time you created this, it probably wasn't easy. But, by the way, how many times do you think you needed to create a report before you're like, oh, I got this. This is easy.
It was probably 5, maybe 10. It didn't take long, especially once you have your templates in place. It's a snap. So
takeaway, and again, Shannon, if you did it in maybe 5, you're good with technology. I mean, you learn things rapidly once you decide you want to. I've talked to loan officers where the answer is 12, 15, 20. I've talked to loan officers where it's 3 times, 7 times. But here's the deal. Even if it's worst case, it takes you 20 times to get to do something great. And it actually makes you more money. It improves your profitability. Come on. I mean, high school students do 5 hours of homework every week at a minimum. Heck, right. My son, who's a junior in high school, he's got nights where he has 5 hours worth of homework. And so get after it. So Shannon, tell us about this. By the way, anything else on this one before
nope.
we, okay, let's do the next one. So what are we looking at and what's the story behind this strategy?
Okay, so the story behind this strategy, there is a financial advising firm in town that I've worked with a couple of their advisors. I love meeting and going after business where the professional is meeting with their client on more than just a at-need basis. So the CPAs and the financial advisors typically have an annual review on their own. And so they're having these discussions all the time and unearthing opportunity. And so I scheduled a presentation at their office. And as I was preparing for that, I was still really new in the Mortgage Coach community as far as actually doing the presentations. And so I had some help and got some help with this one. This one's a little bit older. I did update the information though for this discussion. But so this one, what I did is I sent the contact the link at the financial advising firm, and she had everything brought up There was probably 20, 25 advisors there. And so I just shared this software with them. So the goal with this is unbelievably, there's still a misconception that there's a 20% down payment requirement out there, which is crazy. But so this one is really talking about options for down payment and keeping people's money that's invested with their financial advisors where it belongs. And so again, every situation is different. Some people, it may make sense for them to pull out of an investment and use it for a down payment and leverage their investment differently. But what this does is it puts the onus back on that financial advisor to work in partnership with you to really be trusted advisors and say, hey, you know, you were going to pull 20% out. You don't need to. You can pull 5% out and still look at how that's going to build your wealth down the road. If you keep this money invested, your payment's not that different. They've got great mortgage insurance options because you have good credit. And so what I spoke on to them is I just did a very generic example for their office. I gave them a link to go in, they could play around with it, go see the different features. And then I just said, if you have a client, I can make a specified link for your particular client. I can meet with you with them, or I can do this remotely. It's super easy. I can shoot you the link and you can talk through what their options are from their perspective. And so it was just a really fun presentation. They were blown away by the sophistication of the graphs and charts and the more info. That blue more info button is huge to get people to dig into that a little bit further. And so, and then the other thing I did for them is I just said, hey, if you want, many of you are probably in a perfectly fine situation with your mortgage, but if you want to just shoot me your most recent mortgage statement, I'm willing to do a quick analysis and let you know if I see anything that might jump out that could be an opportunity. And then past that, I just talked a lot with them about investment property purchase guidelines. But so this, I led with this just because it gave me a lot more credibility for them. So that's, yep.
So I want to unpack this because for what you did here. So first of all, she used the Mortgage Coach platform, and I like to call it personally branded advice platform. You know, it's got her picture, her brand. That's, you know, building personal brand. And then it's advice, you know, numbers, charts, graphs, mortgage strategies. And let's face it, you know, what financial planner would not want to work with a mortgage professional that's able to have this conversation? Because, you know, every financial planner I know, it thinks that investing with me is the right way to invest your money. You know, like, yes, we want to have a mortgage because we want to leverage, you know, the tax benefits. And it's, you know, to them, it's a strategic financial planning instrument. But they want to work with a loan officer that can, you know, be a liability management partner. So Shannon didn't have to come in and make a big, like you might have said, hey, my advice will help your clients build wealth faster, and my clients will make your clients better investors with you. You might have said some version of that, but then you said, now let me show you how. And then you used Mortgage Coach as a way to do that, you know? So I hope everybody, I mean, first of all, this was like one call, but you gave two killer strategies. One, you know, go direct to people that have their homes listed, either through annual reviews or call them direct. And then we just talked about a great strategy that every Mortgage Coach loan officer on this call could get after. You know, I mean, it's, you know, we've only got a couple of weeks left in 2018, but call a financial planner, get a meeting, prepare a down payment option, TCA, and come into them. And, you know, Shannon, how long do you think this took, this meeting? You know, how long was it?
Well, it was abbreviated. I mean, I got in there and they right away were like, we apologize. We have someone coming in like 17 minutes. And I was like, cool, we got this. I'll give you the abbreviated version. And we zipped right through it and it was easy.
So 17 minutes. And and by the way, you probably told a story. You gave them a strategy. You got them hooked on it. So guys, you know, click on this, click around, and financial planners are like, oh my gosh, look at this. I've never seen anything like this. And by the way, I know that because I get calls from financial planners all the time and emails saying, hey, will you create Mortgage Coach for financial planners? You know, and I'm like, not this year. But so I know financial planners and CPAs love this because, by the way, that was my backstory. You know, back when I, you know, founded Mortgage Coach and created it, it was a tool for that. So So Shannon, I've stopped sharing. It's just you and me. Let's wrap this up. Think of yourself as you're leading a bigger community. You've been on these calls before. Any last words of wisdom for the mortgage coach community, and your peers your peers at your company that might be helpful for them?
I think the biggest thing is just get in there and work the numbers. And even if you have a client that, like Dave said, they're not qualified, go ahead and build a scenario that shows FHA, VA, conventional, whatever it is. Go through and work through the mortgage insurance options, and then reach out to the support team at Mortgage Coach. They're super helpful and kind and supportive. And I also think listening to the YouTube calls is classic. I mean, when I'm driving, I find the one I haven't listened to, the most recent one, or whatever has the most views, and I just listen to it as I'm driving around. And I just think there's so much gold within those calls that you can always grab something. And if you're down about something, call past clients and ask them how they're doing. They love you, they believe in you. And so I think just wherever you are in your space, I think it's worth it to just jump in and try it and challenge yourself, because it works.
I love that. I love that you gave a plug to our YouTube channel, and you don't have to necessarily be sitting at a desk or on your phone watching the video.
No.
It's a podcast, put it on play and use it to drive, because we're working hard to make, Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, like the Netflix for loan officers, other than the fact that you make money when you either watch or listen to our interviews. So Shannon, I definitely need to interview you again. Hopefully we can do maybe like end of January, early February. We'll get it just to put some more accountability on you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's get through it. If you got value from this, give us a like. Hopefully, let Shannon let me know that, hey, that was cool. I got a takeaway. And then if you're a manager or you have a team that you want to share this with, share it. And Shannon, I appreciate you, and I look forward to having more conversations like this.
Absolutely. Let's get fly fishing too.
Well, we have to do that. I need to get up to Bozeman and get out on the stream and do some fly fishing.
I love it.
All right. Take it easy.
Thanks, Dave.